Mine eye trickleth down and ceaseth not, without any intermission, till the I am look down and behold from heaven. Mine eye affecteth mine heart because of all the daughters of my city. Mine enemies chase me sore like a bird and without cause. They have cut off my life in the dungeon and cast a stone upon me. Waters flowed over my head, then I said, I am cut off. I called upon thy name, O Yahweh, out of the low dungeon. Thou hast heard my voice, hide not thine ear at my breathing, at my cry. Thou drewest near in the city that I called upon thee. Thou saidest, fear not. O Yahweh, thou hast pleaded the causes of my soul. Thou hast redeemed my life. O I am that I am, thou hast seen my wrong. Judge thou my cause. Thou hast seen all their vengeance and all their imaginations against me. Thou hast heard their reproach, O I am that I am, and all their imaginations against me. The lips of those that rose up against me and their device against me all the day, behold, they're sitting down and they're rising up. I am their music. Render unto them a recompense, O I am that I am, according to the work of their hands. Give them sorrow of heart, thy curse unto them. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 48 through 65. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. All praises to the Most High, all praises to the Most High. Yes, yes, yes. I think we might some have to have a eulogy for the earth in itself, because we as men have polluted it. We have polluted the earth, we have caused things, and then there are those men who pollute the earth and then turn around and charge the other men for straightening out their pollutions. Oh, it's the right thing to do, although it's wrong. Good is evil and evil is good. Yes. The earth is rocking to and fro like a drunken man, full of sin and woes, bloodshed and tears, famine and pestilence. And yet, many of us, we live in our nice houses, and, you know, it's pretty good, yeah. We don't have too many troubles, but then there are those who we read about. There are those whom we hear about. Oh, it's not me, but the earth is as a drunken man. The wrath of the Almighty is about to come upon the earth. And many wonder, how would the wrath of Almighty be executed? In many ways, my friend, in many ways. But for us, it is time to mourn and grieve for the children of Jacob, those of our brethren and sisters that have gone the way of Cain, and in other words, their sacrifices is that of whatever they have left. In other words, the sacrifice of praise, the sacrifice of thanksgiving, the love for the Most High, the obedience to the statutes, commandments, ordinances, and laws of the Most High. Just what is left over, just what I can do. Some of you go to Saturday Sabbath, which is not of God or the Most High or whatever you call our Creator. No, it's not that. We always say the new moon, out of darkness. A baby is born from out of the dark abyss of the mother's womb. It's conceived out of the dark abyss of the father's scrotum. darkness to darkness, and then there comes light. When the baby finally opens his eyes, it can feel, it can see, it can breathe. And there is light. We all been there before. We don't remember it, but we've been there. But we're in the book of Job. This is a time where lamentations are in order because the book of Job is in order. Many service members may see war. They may not see their loved ones again. There are two sides to a coin. Although your son or daughter might go to war, there's another son and daughter that are defending themselves against the tyranny that is coming against them. And there are those who have been deceived and that they're defending themselves, when in actuality they're defending those that are in business. But in the book of Job, chapter 31, as you prepare, that's where we're at. The book of Job, chapter 31. Yes, we're nearing this pagan day where men and women, they worship the entity they call Santa, which is jumbled as Satan. It's a jumble of the word Satans. Satans, yes. Satans is many fallen spirits. Santa is just a trick. And then you have your trick-or-treat day that you came and you worship the evil spirits by mimicking the ghoulish movies and all these things that we are subject to. So Job reads, I made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Didn't we just read something like that in the book of Psalms? In the book of Lamentations? His eyes is toward his wife. But what portion of the I am is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? That shall come. Doth not he or the I am see my ways? Job is really getting to the point where he's questioning. He's saying, oh God, you see me, you know my sitting down and my rising up. Does not the I am see my ways and count all my steps? In verse 5. If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot have hastened to deceit, let me be weighted in an even balance, that the I am might know mine integrity. I was careful, Job said, I was careful to keep the commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High as it is set forth by the colonizer. In other words, they're just laws to us, period. If my steps have turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after my eyes, if any blot hath cleaved to my hands, I was careful to keep that which I was commanded of by the Most High. And then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. Job is actually saying, if I do this, let me be subject to Deuteronomy chapter 28, which wasn't even spoken at that time. If mine eyes have been deceived by a woman. Ooh, hold on. If mine eyes have been deceived by a woman, by what? Her tight dresses. Her short shorts almost showing the back of her buttocks and where she actually defecates at. The cleavage of the low-wearing blouse, the false and fake hair that is upon their heads, which contaminates their blood and causes ailments that she know not of, for the fact of luring a man. A woman cannot so much SA a man, but she can lure the man because of his eyes. Yes. So your witchery, through using the sight, They spend hours and hours in the gym refining their shapes to lure that man or to cause attention to be paid to them, or some of them are actually women of the night that are for hire, and they keep their bodies up that they might lure the man. You have to look at this the way it is. It's a business. It's a game for some, it's a business for others, to use their bodies as commercial property or as a business. And then the deceit of using their bodies. And Job goes on and says, if my heart had been deceived by a woman, a prostitute, a whore, if my eyes, he said, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, trying to seduce his wife, is what he's saying. Then let my wife grind unto another. Let my wife go somewhere else. God can keep your wife, man. The I Am can keep your wife. You are the priest of your own household. And let others bow down upon her. Oh, my. For this is an heinous crime. Yes, adultery is an hideous crime. Heinous crime. Yes. Yea, it is iniquity to be punished by the judges, and that sentence of it by the Most Highs, by God, by Yahweh, by Yahuwah, by Sanini Nanini is death. Yes. He says, for it is a fire that consumeth to destruction and would root out all my increase. Just for me falling for a woman, laying with her in adultery. If I did despise the cause of my manservant or my maidservant when they contended with me. I wasn't the one that stood up there and beat because they said this should not go. A manservant, the wolves that worked for me. In other words, Job did not have slaves. Job paid these people to do the work that they did. Even today in Nigeria, you have servants. They have servants that they pay to clean the house, to cook the food, and all these other things. They have servants. In America, we call them maids and butlers, and in the European countries. But in other countries, they call them servants. Don't be beguiled by the hijack. What they call servants in the Bible are really paid those that paid servants, paid workers to attend to their household duties and some of their industrial duties. Yes. He says here, if I did that, what then shall I do when God riseth up, when he visiteth? What shall I answer him? Oh, my manservant looked at me funny, or he said, this is impossible. So I slapped him. No. He said, if I did this, and when he visited me, what shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him? Did not God that make you, rich man, or the man that owned the business, or the man that's giving the business, whether it's his yard or his home, did not he make you too? Your money doesn't make you better than the one that you've hired. But the one you hired has a job to do. And God wants us to pay, the Most High wants us to pay just wages. Yes, he does. And pay them on time and in honesty. He says, if I did despise my manservant and maidservant when they contended with me, God rises up against me. What shall I answer God? What excuse do I have before God? 15. Did not he that made me in the womb make him? Did not one fashion us in the womb? We're the same. We came out of the womb and we shall go into the earth. One way or another, either by grave or by fire. if I have withheld the poor from their desire, which is a wage, a just wage, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, in other words, to be her hope, that they didn't have President Lyndon B. Johnson's public assistance. They didn't have the food stamps. Many widows that have lost their husband depend on what was around the house, or they had to sell. You look in some countries where the women go out and they sell. They have to sell fruits and vegetables. That's why the markets are so full. And the men go out and do the same. They'll plant in the vineyards, and they'll plant on in the fields and sell the goods at wholesale to the women, and the women sells it at retail in the market. This is how this goes. If you go into some of these, what you call third world countries, they've been like this for thousands of years. Come on here. Nah. That doesn't make them third world. What makes them third world is the fact that those who have more steal from those who have less. And those who have less do not know that they are very rich. If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, 17, or have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless has not eaten thereof. In other words, I got children, free-range children all around the place. Children, the fatherless, whose father's been killed in wars and skirmishes and some of everything, and here they are. Because even in the Bible, it says if a man goes to war, let him be with his wife 1 year before he goes off into war. Simply because he may not come back. More than likely he won't. Not according to as Israel was doing the sinning that they have, worshiping other strange gods. Yes. He says now, for from my youth he was brought up with me as a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. Yes. This was a fatherless. I mean, even teenagers. They look like men, they're just kids. Learning. Strong, able to go to war. Yes, but some of them are younger, too young to go to war, and not old enough to marry. Yes, they're not. He said, if I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering. He's telling God, if I sing these things and have not taken action, if his loins have not blessed me, if I were not warm with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up, they made mattresses and some of everything out of the fleece of sheep. I mean, clothing, wool. Wool is very warm. It itches sometime too. If I have lifted up my hands against the fatherless when I saw my help in the gate. In other words, get away from me, boy, go, boy. Instead of giving the little boy a job to do something, or giving the little boy some clothes or a little piece of money, best to give him a job or something to do, or teach him a trade. Yes. He said, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and my arm be broken from the bone. Destroy me, he's saying, oh Yahweh, if I've done these things. For destruction from the I Am was a terror to me. In other words, when God sends destruction towards you, you cannot, it is unfathomable. I would even say your Esau did not, in his fictitious story, did not even suffer such a thing that would come from God. He says, yes. So what is the rich wicked are? What are they? They're being stored up for the day of the wrath of the Most High. His children who benefits are kept in that benefit to see what they will do. And many of them are kept for that day of the wrath of the Most High. Yes, they are. 25. Let's go back up a little bit. He says now, 24, if I made gold my hope, if I've said to find gold thou art my confidence, as many rich or many so-called rich say today, thou, and some is just plain old things. The rich still has his gold, although he has nice cars, but you are foolish. You have a Lamborghini, you have a whip or whatever you want to call it, and all these other things, and you walk in your pride. And a luxurious apartment. Don't you know that the wicked are still trying to take those things that you have? You're a millionaire, but these are multi-millionaires trying to take what you have, employing people to do that to make them even wealthier, that you might even be under their control for a lesser sum. He says in verse 25, if I rejoice because my wealth was great and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart has been secretly enticed, or my youth has kissed my hand, or my heart has, or my mouth has kissed my hand. Have you ever seen somebody kiss themselves? Being pride, this is a sign of pride. It's a sign of over esteeming yourself as more than what you are. Yes, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge, for I should have denied the I am that is above. No one is greater than the I am. Neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said not, oh, that we were of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. In other words, I had a place for him to sleep. I had a place for him to stay. If I covered my transgressions as Adam. Oh, he knew who Adam was. He knew who his father was. Although Adam was not living in his day. So if he knew Adam, he knew of the law that came over the flood. He understood this law. The books which are hidden somewhere in the abyss of someone's basement or dungeon, only to give you this book. Although it's true in many ways, it has many lies in it. And hiding my iniquity in my bosom. Yes, in that same book they come up with other fictitious things. Because the I am, as we read in the book, they try to make their own to control people. Righteousness before the I am, which is his law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances are, should I say, God's law is infallible. The law of the Most High is infallible. You cannot change it. The words of your Jesus, yes, they're ambiguous in many ways and full of things that those of that day had infiltrated to control people. Yes. But there is no control for doing what is right. There is no control for doing what is just before the Most High. Only a reminder, which is called the law, commandments, statutes, and ordinances. You were born with it. Now let's go to 33. If I covered my transgression as Adam. 34. Did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out the door? Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Surely I would have taken it upon my shoulder and bind it as a crown to me. In other words, oh, I am that I am, if you would answer me, why am I going through the things that I'm going through? Why am I going through this? After all, I was careful. I would declare unto him the number of my steps as a prince, that I would go near unto him. If I had a land, if my land cried against me, or the furrows likewise therefore complain, if I have eaten the fruit thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, of the vineyards, so I can get it just like Ahab and Jezebel. She killed the man to take his vineyard. Let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cocky instead of barley. This is Old English now. The words of Job are ended. Job has made his petition before the I Am. And this is what we should do, if we can. Make our petition before the I Am. For the weak, the beggarly, for those who cannot defend themselves, for those countries that are being bullied and taken over, and those countries that are, those governments that are infiltrating, and they're making their people do things that they wouldn't do, causing them to go to war for greed, sending their people off to other lands for greed, to work for a cheap price while they collect some of the money that those who call upon them offer. Yes. Oh, the world has a lot to pay. I don't care what race you belong to, or what nationality, or what tribe, has a lot to pay. Yes, you do. But the only way we can ever be pleasing in the Most High is comply to what is in us, even that the Most High shows us, and that is his statutes, laws, commandments, and ordinances. And if we do those things, we will have